county as clerk and coroner. These are roles that are essential to transparency, accountability, and functioning of local government. And we know that people come from a number of different perspectives and strong opinions, and quite frankly, that's a healthy thing. We're not like the other side that thinks, oh, you can only have an opinion if the Idaho Freedom Foundation or some of those other crazy interests tell you it's okay. You know, we have a pretty big tent here, and I think that's a beautiful thing in this party. And that's why we can have a decent conversation like adults about how government should be. And we want to respect the viewpoints of the candidates who are going to be addressing us tonight. A little bit of a format, the comment on the format tonight. Each candidate will have a couple of minutes for opening statements, and then we will have some moderated questions with 1 minute responses. We have a timekeeper here. Let's give our timekeeper a round of applause. I will try and be respectful. If you see her flash up the 30-second card, that means you need to start wrapping up. When she says stop, I'll let you have maybe an extra 2 to 5 seconds to kind of say, okay, that's enough. And if you go on for 90 seconds or so, unfortunately, we'll send JD Vance. No, just kidding. We will try to enforce the time limits to try and be fair to each and every one, because we do want to hear the perspectives from each and every candidate and be respectful about that. We have also, these were just given to me tonight. These are some cards that have some other alternate questions. If we have time for them, we will attempt to address some of those as well tonight. So with that, let's begin, and we are going to ask the county clerk candidates to please come up to the stage. And we will have to probably share the microphone here. Tonight we are going to begin with the candidates for county clerk. We're going to begin in the order that was given to me here with Mr. Graham. And this is a very unique but complex role that oversees a number of different things, including elections, county finances, public records, and serves both the courts and the Board of County Commissioners. So our first candidate tonight is Stephen Graham. He currently serves as the Blaine County Clerk, having been appointed to that role in 2021. And he was subsequently elected by the voters. He holds a Master of Public Policy from Georgetown University and brings more than a decade of experience that is managing multi-million-dollar public budgets, including work in international public health, and as Blaine County's Chief Budget Officer. In addition to his public service, he is a classically trained violinist and concertmaster of the Wood River Valley Orchestra, and he lives in Haley. Let's give him a round of applause. Our second candidate tonight is Don Cieslik. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, you can do whatever you need to do to correct me afterwards. Don is a lifelong Wood River Valley resident, born here in Sun Valley. How cool is that? And raised in Ketchum and Haley with deep family roots in the community. She is a U.S. Navy veteran and currently works as a planner with the Blaine County Office of Land Use and Building Services. She brings more than 20 years of county government experience, including leadership roles in large assessor's offices in California, and holds a degree in criminal justice with an emphasis in public administration. She lives in Haley and remains active in the community through volunteer work. Thanks once again to both of you for being here today. Again, I really think that anyone who runs for public office deserves a lot of credit. And win or not win, I mean, you gotta put your face out there, you gotta put your reputation on the line. Sometimes it isn't pretty, but you know what? It's beautiful, because that is what our country is all about. And these these folks who are here standing before you really need to get a lot of credit for doing so. So each candidate will have 2 minutes. We'll go alphabetically, starting with the challenger, Don, followed by the incumbent, Stephen. So we're going to begin with our first question here. What experience best prepares you? We're going to go with Don here. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I did not give you. I really messed up tonight. So again, you know, you can throw some peanuts or gum or whatever, your tomatoes if you've got some back there. I do apologize. This is what happens when you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and your brain is not working on all cylinders here. So let's give Don a couple of minutes for an opening statement, and then we will give Stephen 2 minutes, and then we will begin the question. Is that okay?
Yeah. Is this
all right.
working okay? Okay, great.
I'll see if I can turn that up for you.
So my name is pronounced Cieslik. It's like seasick with an L. So anyway, local government is about community. It's about the people that we serve as public servants, and it's about the people who do the work every day. I strive to understand others by putting myself in their shoes. As a first-time candidate, I bring a fresh perspective by years of hands-on experience in county government, including my current role as a planner for Blaine County land use. My leadership is grounded in community-focused service, transparent communication, and collaborative team development, and that supports professional growth, all anchored in accessibility, accountability, reliability, responsibility, and mutual respect. My career has been dedicated to serving people. Blaine County is my home, and I'm committed to serving those who also call it home. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? My magnetic personality.
Yeah, right here. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. You covered some of this, but I came to Idaho in 2020 as an artist in residence at the Hemingway House in Ketchum. I'm a violinist. That's one reason why I'm here. But I fell in love with the valley and decided to make it my home. And when the clerk seat opened, when the clerk seat opened, the Board of County Commissioners appointed me unanimously. Then I won a contested primary, and I've spent the last 4.5 years doing a job that I believe in deeply and that I love for you. Being clerk means being 5 officers at once. Clerk of the District Court, Chief Elections Officer, Budget Officer and Auditor, County Recorder, Clerk to the Board of Commissioners. Each one is a full-time responsibility, sometimes more. Elections alone is enough to keep a person up at night, and it does. Here's what I've built. Our elections team has delivered accurate results in every cycle. Our court staff handles complex caseloads leaner and meaner than almost any other county in our district. Right now, we're in the middle of the most significant financial systems upgrade in Blaine County history, moving from spreadsheets to enterprise-grade software. It will serve this county for decades to come. Phase 1 goes live this June, and it's not the kind of project that you hand off midstream. I plant trees I'm not going to sit in the shade of. Every decision I make is a decision about the next clerk. Maybe that's you. I'm not building something that depends just on me to survive. I'm building something that works even when I'm not in the room, and 10 years from now. Clean records, fair elections, accessible courts, systems that outlast any one person. This office doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to special interests or local political insiders. It belongs to you. And that's who I answer to, you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to both candidates for your sincerity and for telling us a going to move on to some of the moderated questions. Again, 1 minute per response. And question one now deals with readiness. What experience best prepares you to manage your full scope of this office? Clerk of the District Court, Auditor, Recorder, Clerk of the Board of County Commissioners, and Chief Election Officer of the county. And which of these responsibilities do you consider the most important? We'll begin with Don, and then we will go with Stephen. Not a problem. What experience best prepares you to manage the full scope of the office, including Clerk of the District Court, Auditor, Recorder, Clerk of the Board of County Commissioners, and Chief Election Officer of the county? Which of these responsibilities do you consider the most important?
Thank you for that question, Benjamin. The experience that I have and I bring to this job is, one, I currently work in the county and I'm very familiar with the county operations. I do have some functions that I do in my current job that I work in hand with the recorder's office. But I also have 20 years of experience in county government, in large county government, that involved with the assessor's office in Santa Clara County, where I oversaw 95 employees. I ran the operation, day-to-day operations for an office, and I was responsible with a team for over $580 billion in assessed value. My experience also is about being a communication, having strong communication, and also being able to delegate to management team, staff, everything to keep things flowing. Probably, am I running out of time?
Thank you very much for your response. We'll hear from your opponent.
Well, I've been doing the job for 4.5 years, and I've been trying to do it to the best of my ability. In that time, I've undertaken a modernization of the county recorder's office software system that took 18 months, and it launched a little bit last year. I'm really happy with how that's been going. I'm in the middle of modernizing the county's financial system. Excuse me, sorry about this. It's a little weird to hold it so close. You know, it takes a deep commitment to research Idaho's statute. You know, and basically that's what I've been living in for the last 4.5 years. So I certainly respect anyone who works in public service. And I just think that my public service is more relevant to this job.
Thank you for your responses. Let's move on to question number 2, dealing with election integrity and access. How will you ensure elections in Blaine County are both secure and accessible to all eligible voters? We will begin with Don, and then we will again give Mr. Graham an opportunity to respond.
With regards to elections, I think we need to look at our community as a whole. We have an older generation, we have older citizens that may not be able to get to the polls. With today's environment, with absentee ballots, I think you need to take a look at how our citizens can vote. And so my thoughts on this are simply this, is that we need to make it accessible in the sense of having absentee ballots. We need to be able to be ensured that they actually get the absentee ballot through the mail with the mail service. And we need to make sure that we're doing our work timely. We have enough staff to complete accurate and timely election certification. And we need to make sure that they're safe if they come to the polls.
I completely agree with all of that. Absentee voting is a really important way that people in Idaho are able to vote. And you know, there has been a lot of talk in the news lately about recent executive orders that may threaten that. It's something that I'm in constant communication with our Secretary of State's office about. Their guidance is right now, don't change anything, and we'll let you know as soon as anything comes up. And you can be sure that I'll communicate anything that I learn to the wider public. But in terms of what we've done in terms of election integrity, we've spent the last 4.5 years improving physical security in the office, all of our processes. Gosh, the number of plastic seals that we go through, every election could fill a small dump truck, really. Yeah, more of the same, essentially. And in terms of accessibility and communications, we're trying every election cycle to improve our outreach to Spanish language.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your responses. Question number 3 relates to public trust. And the question for both of you would be, what specific steps would you take to strengthen public confidence in local election processes? I guess the way they, if you want to see me have the opportunity, that's fine.
I think it needs to be.
Okay, as long as both of you are in agreement with that, I'm okay with it.
Works for me. So, excuse me, that was distracting. Can you repeat the question?
Not a problem. What specific steps would you take to strengthen public confidence in local election processes?
Interesting. So I think communication is the most important thing. We've tried to improve that with our voter information pamphlet. This is the second election cycle that we've issued that, and it was a huge success the first time around, getting information out to the voters. This is actually a pretty good time, I think, for me to address one of the challenges in that, and helping people to understand that elections in Idaho are secure. And that's just a general fear of asking questions. I don't know what it is. People are afraid to ask questions about how things work. We have a staff, on call all day long, and we're here to answer your questions in a friendly way, and I hope that you do, because if you have questions to ask about our process, you're here to answer them.
Okay, the question again, what specific steps would you take to strengthen public confidence in local education processes? If I were Canadian, I would say processes.
I think the first thing, like Stephen said, is good communication with the public, and that involves various different avenues, through the county website, through the local papers, getting out in front of groups, maybe at the senior connection, so on and so forth, providing those options. I think the other thing that is really important is that it's about not just the short-term plan for an election, but a long-term. When you think about 2028 coming up and the possibility of having an even larger electorate voting, you want to make sure that you have the resources to make sure that the count is accurate and timely so it can be certified on time. And the trust comes with transparency. And we have to have transparency in our elections. And we have to rely and believe that we are doing the best. Being a public employee or a public servant is not an easy job, so thank you.
The next question I think is very important, particularly because it pertains to the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm using political imagery in there a little bit, but there's a lot of misinformation about electoral matters in our country right now. And I'd like to know how you would respond to misinformation or challenges to election results in real time. Whomever would like to go for it, as long as both respond, I'm okay with either one of you responding first.
Sure. Well, one story I want to share with you is about the election night reporting from November 2024. Now, that's an instance that it definitely took longer than I would have liked to report the results out to people. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that election night reports are always unofficial until they're certified by the Board of County Commissioners 7 to 10 days later. That's by design, right? But in that instance, I learned a very valuable lesson. I was focused on making sure that the work got done when I should should have been stepping back and making sure that I was focused on communicating with the press and the public about what was going on. That's the thing that you learn in the moment. And since then, we've adopted a reporting schedule that we publish every election night for the press. And I always designate someone else who's a communications lead so that I can make sure and keep enough distance from the situation to always make the best decisions.
Thank you for your response. Okay, the question again, how would you respond to misinformation or challenges to election results in real time? What would you do?
I think it's about accountability. I think it goes back to the trust. To be accountable, to own if there is misinformation out there, you set the record straight. You need to, the public needs to trust you as an elected official, and if you cannot keep your word and your words don't match your actions, then there's a credibility problem. I've worked in elections. I've been in a different state, and I know how challenging it is. And I know that people are always going to have a belief that if it didn't turn out their way, there might be something wrong. And that is why it is so critical to maintain open communication and have, with safe and fair elections. So that's
Appreciate your responses. On question number 5, transparency versus privacy. This office must balance open record requests from the public with protecting sensitive information. I would like to know, and I think everyone here would like to know, how will you approach that balance? Whomever would like to answer that first.
I think I will say that when I came to this county, I was actually surprised about how much information is available through a public records request. I mean, I get that it's a requirement, but some of the things that I was used to was redacting a lot of stuff when I was with the assessor's office. But I think that and I've lost the question, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous here. But I think public record integrity is very important in the fact that when we see all the cases of fraud going on, but we have to be certain that some of the things that we do within the recorder's office may not be enough. There may be trainings that we may need to do with regards to when somebody submits a deed or something like that.
Thank you for your response. Unfortunately, your time has ended.
Yeah, thank you. So staying on the recorder's office, this has been something that I've actually had a lot of focus on over the last few years. If you say at the same time as going with the reporting software modernization, I've worked with our title companies to try and get them to understand the importance of the integrity of public records. The title companies are an industry that the recorder's office works with very closely. In fact, their industry depends upon the publicly available information that all of us taxpayers pay for. And it's important to me that those records are kept protected. One way that I decided to do that was by adding watermarks to uncertified copies of public records so that they can't be misused in the wrong situations by fraudsters or anything like that. We all know it's a growing problem nationwide. And then in terms of other public records and keeping that privacy, I just want to echo that I really appreciate Secretary of State Phil McGrain's stance on not providing voter information.
Thank you for your response. Appreciate that. Unfortunately, the time has ended. We're going to move on to another question. Fiscal oversight. As county auditor, you review expenditures for legality and accuracy. I'd like to know how you would handle spending that is legal, but sometimes raises ethical concerns. Whomever would like to respond to that can go first.
I think that with regards to the county budget, there is a budget team. There is the clerk, there is the our administrative director for the county, and there's also our budget analyst, excuse me. I think that within that component, and within the departments that submit budgets, I think there is a lot of work that's done to ensure that the county is fiscally responsible and that the spending is checked through the auditor's functions, through the AP, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and we would make sure that, ongoing, whether it's continuity or knowledge, I think the people that work in our office are very well trained to know when and how the budget is to be, spent. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your response tonight.
One more time, would you mind repeating that?
Be happy to run that over again. As county auditor, you review expenditures for legality and accuracy. How would you handle spending that is legal but could raise ethical concerns?
That's a really good question and an important one. I think first of all, what we normally do is approach the person in question and ask them what the story was. Oftentimes there's an innocent explanation, or there just wasn't enough paperwork or something like that. Then I would launch, an internal investigation. Based on the results of that, I would make a recommendation either to the prosecuting attorney's office or not. But what Don was describing there is what we do every day. Fiscal responsibility is something I'm really focused on. Drafting budgets that actually reflect reality is really important to me, and that's why I created the position of the budget analyst to help my team make budgets that make sense for people.
Right. The next question deals with modernization. I'd like to know what improvements or upgrades would you prioritize, whether in elections, records, or public access, to be able to modernize the clerk's office?
I'll be fast because I've covered some of this already, but working on a once-in-a-generation upgrade to the county's financial system. The first phase of that goes live in June, payroll in August, accounts receivable in January. It's a big deal. It's frankly the biggest financial upgrade the county has gone through in 20 years. Our current system was designed over 20 years ago for county government that works 20 years ago. So it's really time to make this improvement, and I'll stop there.
Yes, it is true that the county is going through financial upgrade to their software. They've also went through a recorders with the same vendor, Tyler. As part of my experience in government, I have actually implemented systems, and one of the things that's always critical is making sure it doesn't get implemented too fast, because if you are not running in parallel with the old and the new, and there are problems, it's going to cost the county more money to fix it. So it's kind of like a diamond, it takes time for all its facets to come through. And so with regards to that, I would just be very cautious in how fast something gets implemented. And with continuity, depending on who wins this election, I do have experience in computer systems. So.
And we're going to move on to a final question, and I'd like you to kind of think about your leadership roles as you answer this, and I want to ask both of you the same question. What is one key difference in your approach, priorities, or leadership style that you believe that voters should understand?
My leadership style is based on rational and pragmatic thinking, and it addresses issues that are timely and in a realistic way with common sense solutions and a focused mindset. My leadership style in itself is rooted in relationship building, strong communication and listening, adaptability and resilience, as well as empowerment, thoughtful delegation, and accountability.
happy to repeat that. What is one key difference in your approach, priorities, or leadership style that you believe that voters here should understand tonight?
Well, I don't know my opponent well enough to know what the key differences are, but I'm happy to tell you how I make decisions. First of all, I think to myself, if someone were in my shoes with the same information, would they make the same decision as me every time? Another aspect is, if we got a room together of all the experts in the room and they took a vote, would they come to that conclusion, right? Third is, would I want to make it into Idaho law? Fourth is it going to advance or improve the institution? 5 is it going to, what are the trade-offs? Who's going to be helped? Who's going to be hurt? This is the kind of thinking that a public servant needs to be doing every day for every tough call, and there's a lot of tough calls.
I'm going to take a final question that was handed in from the audience tonight, and this will be our final question for both of the candidates. And I'd like to know, what does success look like to you in this role, and how would you measure whether the clerk's office is meeting that standard?
That's a tricky question, because I think a lot of times when things are going well, you don't hear about it. When things don't go well, you do hear about it. And so that's tricky. I got lost on that. Can you tell me?
Not a problem. What does success look like to you in this role, and how would you measure whether the clerk's office is meeting that standard?
I guess what I was getting at is that, it's kind of hard to go off of feedback that way, because you only ever hear about, the negative one. So success for me means on-time execution of statutory responsibilities, clean elections, clean audits, and an office that people trust and come to. And I'm really proud to say that I feel like I've built that over the last 4.5 years.
What success looks like for me is having a happy office with happy staff who know that they're valued and that their input is heard, and that they feel that they are able to make their own decisions in the job, and they're not being micromanaged or anything like that. I also think that when staff are happy, our production gets better, and we have, how do I put it? It's like a machine. When every cog is working properly in an office, the machine it runs well. I think that it really comes down to staff are the county's most reliable and valuable resource, and I believe they need to be rewarded for the work they do. But it's also about communication and letting them know that they've heard that.
Thank you for your response. And again, I would happen to say that you have two very eloquent public servants here. I think both of them did an excellent job. May the best person win on the Our county coroner candidates